Oh man, I'm so glad to see you again. And, I know you guys have been doing so much. I want to talk about Earnable
Yeah.
and I want to talk about that, starting a business and Earnable. And then also too, like, have you been super busy because everyone feels so chaotic with everything going on and just needs your advice?
It has been really interesting to watch people have a new reason to get engaged with money. And I think that when it comes to money, most of us treat it like floss, like, yeah, I should floss, I should do it one of these
Yes.
days. And then there are a few pivotal moments in our lives, maybe we get engaged or get married, maybe we have children, etc. And those kind of get us thinking about money. But now all of a sudden you had people losing their jobs, unfortunately, or
Yeah.
worried about it. You also had people who had been saving for a long time and they saw people around them being laid off and they started feeling guilty. Like, I have money, I have
Yeah.
savings. What am I supposed to do right now? And where can I help somebody by writing a check? So I've been having tons of conversations about saving, investing, starting a business, and also just what to do if you're in a bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's probably people here that are experiencing all three of those, and sometimes interchangeably. I want to talk a little bit first about investing, because it's so interesting and I have my own personal thoughts and theories about this, but for, how well the market is doing with everything happening, it's like, it's so interesting. So do you think that will continue? Do you think, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. First off, nobody knows what will happen to the market. So let's get that straight, because if you turn on the TV, there are a lot of people who typically look the same and they're sitting there in their suit and tie
Yeah,
telling you what's going to happen. You should turn the TV off. You should take a hammer and you should smash your own TV. That's how
I'm
valuable
down.
that information. It's
Yeah.
garbage, right? They're trying to sell ads.
Yes.
In reality, the market could go up, it could go down. We have no idea. But I will say a couple of things. Number one, we know from research that you make the most money from time in the market, not timing the market. What does that mean? It means you want to start investing early as you can, and you want to be putting money in consistently. I will tell you that as the market went down, I kept putting money in. As the
Yeah.
market's gone up, I keep putting money in. I always put money in if I can. So that's number one, is just consistency matters more
Yeah.
than trying to time it. I will say the second thing is something you're probably alluding to, which is it is a bit crazy that the market is at near record highs while we have tens of millions of people unemployed. And that is a real structural problem. It shows a complete disconnect between the market and ordinary Americans, right? And frankly, that's why I wanted to talk to you today. More ordinary Americans should be investing to take
Are
advantage
you
of the
calling me
wealth that's
ordinary?
created. Well, you're certainly not
Thank you.
ordinary.
No, I'm just kidding.
But
I'm maybe below ordinary. So
we,
yes.
we all need to take part in the greatest wealth creation engine there is, and that is the stock market. It's not just for rich people. It's not for people with a PhD. It's for people like you and me and everybody watching today. And that's one of my goals in life, is to help people create their rich life, which is in part about money and investing.
Yeah, and that's, and you talk about wealth mindset and so many different things. But as I've really watched, unemployment rates rise and everything go on and seeing the market do so well, it's been very clear to me how disjointed we are in the wealth gap. And also too, just how when everything happened, we were able to find trillions of dollars for things that I was like, wait, where did we, like, is money real? Because we're finding all these trillions of dollars for things, but it's like, where is this coming from?
That's correct. I'm so glad you said that. And I've been getting more political publicly. And my wife and I have raised money, and at my company, we raised a ton of money recently for Feeding America and ACLU and all these places. And I completely agree. In fact, it takes me back to a lesson my dad taught me many, many years ago. So my dad has dealt with contracts for a long time. And he basically taught me, if you need money and you can demonstrate value, a company or an organization will find it. So he taught me this
Mm,
with college. He said, look, we're not rich. Be good enough to get in, and they will find a way to give you a lot of financial aid. That turned out to be exactly true. He said, if you're great at your job, your boss will find a way to give you a raise, but be great. And then if you're writing contracts, go for a big contract. You might as well, because the company has money, but you have to have a great proposal. That's the same thing we're seeing right now. All for the last 10, 15 years. Oh, we can't pay teachers more.
I
We
know.
can't invest in our public infrastructure and public
I
parks,
know.
but we can afford tax cuts for the rich.
Yep.
Okay, and we can go on vast military expeditions. However, we can't afford to take care of
I know.
healthcare. So what we found in a crisis was that suddenly the treasure chest opened up. And sometimes it takes a crisis for people to realize that what they've been told for the last 50 years is untrue. And I'm glad that more people are starting to realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just very clear. And I don't, it's one of those things it's like people need to pay attention to. And that's also with, in regards to my investing, it's made me kind of turned off to the market where I'm like, am I in buying or investing into something that like isn't an equalizer for people or isn't, I don't know. It's just made me think twice about the way I'm investing. So for you, like, how do you diversify your investment so that you feel good about what you're doing?
I think it's a great question. First of all, let's talk about what diversification is, because a lot of people hear this word, you should diversify, but what does it really mean? Sometimes you'll hear people talking about buying Apple stock. Okay, that's picking one company and they're kind of making a huge bet on one thing. Now, if Apple does well, as it has done for a long time, great. But those same people get very quiet when the stock goes down 15, 20, 30. You never hear from them again. They're bragging on Twitter all the time they're making all this money, and then it goes down and they just disappear. They delete their account. You
Yeah.
never hear from them again. Where'd you go, my friend? Where'd you go? Your great stock that you picked, this obscure penny stock, suddenly I don't know where your account is anymore. Diversification means that you want to pick a basket of investments. Now, I actually want to emphasize to everybody watching, you don't really need to be picking individual stocks. I think a lot of people think they need to read PE ratios and stuff. You don't need that. You diversify by picking something like a target date fund. It's one fund. It automatically buys all different accounts, all different companies. And I will say that there are some people they want to invest ethically. So for example, they might not want to invest in a tobacco company or oil company, et cetera. So there are ethical investing funds you can get. Now they tend to underperform a little.
Or prisons.
Or prisons, yeah, or exactly, private prisons, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can certainly invest around that. You tend to get a little bit of a smaller return, but in my experience, first things first, just start investing. And I thought it was actually really interesting. I'm glad you brought up that you feel a little turned off. I respect that. I'll tell you, I have a slightly different opinion. So my opinion is that the more wealth that I create for myself and for you and your readers and viewers, the more that we can use that money to impact the people around us. And I'm talking simple to complex. Simple is you have somebody who you used to hire to help you, I don't know, change the oil in your car, maybe do a manicure. You can keep writing them checks right now, even though you can't see them. That's simple. Complex is complex fundraisers, philanthropy, charity, etc. So we can do all of that with more wealth. That's the way that I think about the stock market.
I love that justification. I agree. And I think the ethical investing is super interesting. And I've actually never thought about that because I just do the normal, just invest in the one and then it diversifies for me. This is kind of a crazy one, but I think we hear so much about it when everyone's like in apocalypse mode. Have you thought about like gold and stuff? Like, is that ridiculous?
No. It's, yes, it is ridiculous, but it's a common question. Yeah. So a lot of people, I think in some ways, there is a subset of society that craves catastrophe. Yeah. Why? It gives them meaning. Oftentimes in an altogether unremarkable life, if there is a catastrophe, then suddenly they have meaning. And then you start hearing things about Bitcoin and buying commodities and wheat and all kinds of stuff. Listen, if you have a diversified portfolio and out of 100%, you want to take 5% and invest in some crazy thing, be my guest. But I would say 99.9% of the time when people talk about gold and commodities, I go, what does your portfolio look like? And portfolio? What are you talking about? You're such a Luddite, Ramit. Diversifications were suckers. I'm like, get out of here. Start with
What
understanding the
I-
rules, then you can break them.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. It's funny with gold too, because I'm like, I kind of understand the concept. It's like if cash was gone, if money is just numbers on a screen, but it's like, what would we do with it if the world ended? Like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, would we just look really fresh, like have a bunch of gear? Like I was there until I didn't understand. I'm like, so we just gonna like eat gold? Like
I'm glad
I
yeah,
didn't
because
understand.
that's the question that most people don't ask. They go like this. They go, Ramit, you know what you need to do? You need to buy Bitcoin because in the case of an economic collapse, we'll use Bitcoin. I'm like, you think in the case of an economic collapse, you're going to have internet access, everyone's going to have Bitcoin transfers set up, et cetera. Same for gold. What are you going to do with it? Now, gold
Yes.
can be considered a hedge, but in general, there are much better investments. And if you want to hedge, which means sort of
Hmm.
diversify from stocks, you can do things like hold cash, bonds. There are lots of things that are much more proven over time. Again, if you really want to buy gold as part of your 5 to 10% of fund money, be my guest. In my experience, the people who do that typically never get the rest of it right. So they're fixated on this
Right.
obsession without getting the stuff that really matters right.
Yeah. And you know what it probably is? It's almost like a procrastination or like avoidance of the actual thing. So it's like, oh, they're so focused on gold, but it's like avoiding the actual truth. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you're
And
100% right.
procrastinating on actually doing the thing. Um, so another thing that people are also talking about too, like you said, is Bitcoin. So are you invested at all in Bitcoin?
No, I prefer
Okay.
my money to make money.
Yeah, I mean, I know this much about Bitcoin, so
That's about
that's
as much as you should know as an
okay.
investment. Okay,
Yes,
so
okay.
the Bitcoin people don't like me very much because I keep pointing out that, at first they presented Bitcoin as an amazing thing that's going to enable all kinds of functions. When none of those functions actually became customer facing, like they're like, you want to accept payment, great. You want to walk your dog, use Bitcoin. You want to change your underwear more frequently, use Bitcoin. When none of those use cases proved true, then they shifted the goalposts into it's a great investment, which just proved to be speculative. So I could go on and
Right.
on. For now, it's largely used to buy drugs and as a betting mechanism. Now, if you want to do it, fine. But I cover why I don't love Bitcoin in my book. A lot of people got mad. They can be mad. I prefer you to be a long-term, low-cost investor. That's my take.
Yeah. Okay, on the point of people getting mad at you, because people are very, very hot right now. So, how do you like, what is your thought process for that when people give you feedback, when people are like angry with you? Do you ignore? Do you create boundaries? Like, this is a sidestepping question, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious from like a personal standpoint.
Why would they get mad at me? I don't understand. I'm such a teddy bear.
I think you are.
Thank you. That's what I keep
I
trying to
do.
tell people. Well, thank you.
I think you're the best.
I think I've had some people, once you get a large enough audience, I think um,
Yeah.
it's inevitable. I also think that if you have a strong perspective on certain things, naturally some people might not like it. I'll give you a couple of examples. One is that typically in America, we are brought up to believe that buying a house is a great investment. In fact, it's the best investment. And as I show, that's actually not true. A lot of times buying a house is quite a bad investment. Another thing that we are brought up to believe is that, hey, I pay somebody maybe to mow my lawn or wash my car. Why don't I pay somebody to be my financial advisor and pay them 1%? That's no big deal. On my Instagram account at Ramit recently, I had a young woman who came to me and she showed me that she was 31 years old. She makes $85,000 a year and she was paying an advisor about 1.2%. Doesn't sound like that much. So I talked to her and I showed this chat on my IG stories. Guess what? Guess how much she would have paid over the course of her life in investor fees? Guess how
Oh
much she would
God.
have paid?
You don't want to be doing this to me in front of
I
everyone
love it.
again.
I love it.
Okay.
Just a ballpark number.
$500,000.
Oh, shit. You ruined my
Like
example
literally, you can't do
again.
this to me. Like I
Okay.
don't
No,
know.
this is our thing now. Every time I
Let's have
try to do it,
everyone guess.
yeah,
Everyone in
every
the
time.
comments guess.
Okay, how much do you think that she would have paid? And by the way, this is now our thing. Every time I ask you, you ruin
This
my
is our thing.
example.
Making
I
you
love it.
look dumb. This is our
No,
thing, guys. It's our thing.
So she
I just get
guessed
roasted.
that her fee would be $35,000 over the course of her life. Not that big of a deal over the course of her life. Turns out I ran the calculations for her. She would have paid at minimum $315,000 in fees. So I want everyone
Whoa.
listening to pay attention right now. You guys are so obsessed with $3 questions. Oh, should I cut back on my coffee? Oh, I can't afford that dessert. I'm being bad. You you fail to remember you should actually be asking $30,000 questions. Am I investing today, even with $100 a month? Do I know what asset allocation is? 90% of you don't even know what that word is. You're out here talking about Bitcoin. You don't know what asset allocation is. Read my book.
The damn.
Negotiate your salary. Even in this economy? Yes, even in this economy. Pay off your debt in a constructive way. A lot of you have student
Yeah.
loans. You can save $25,000 in the way you pay that off. That's chapter one. So my point is, stop asking $3 questions. Start asking $30,000 questions.
Boom. Okay, so I wasn't that far off.
No, you were actually really good. Your number was actually correct because I think I was conservative with her because I didn't want to freak her
Okay.
out. She probably would have been more like 500,000.
Perfect.
So, okay, you were
So,
right on the money.
hey everyone, just so you know, you can come to me for any advice that you want on financial or money services. Okay, that wasn't bad. I'm glad. But it is interesting too, though, like yes, and I think this is something that you also talk about where it's like those conveniences where it's like, oh, I'm going to give away 1.2% of my earnings or whatever because it's convenient for them to manage my money. And there's so often, so many times in our life where we give up way more than we actually think about that are conveniences. And if we thought about it over time, it's like astounding.
Yeah. I have to say, one other thing I want to emphasize on the convenience side. So I have this concept of money dials. And just for everyone watching, this is the thing we talked about in New York, which is what is something you love to spend on? And I always love to start talking about this because so often money is about restriction and cutting back and don't buy anything. I don't believe that. Look, you have a beautiful shirt on. I can't
Yeah.
see much of your place, but it looks beautiful. You got a nice place. I can tell, right? You have a nice aesthetic, that taste that is valuable to you. Mine is convenience. That's my money dial. I
Mm.
love to spend on convenience. I have an assistant. Everything is just like organized in my life.
Because that's
Now,
like freedom.
it's freedom. I know that if
Yes.
I want to fly somewhere tomorrow, I have to send one email and it's done. In fact, I know that I will end up sitting on my favorite seat because it's all documented. It's all done. That's my thing. I know I sound like a psycho to people who don't care about convenience, but that's my thing. You might like eating out, whatever. Um, when it comes to the extravagances, the things that we love, the money dial, I actually tell people spend more. What if you could eat out more? What if you could eat out at a nicer place? What if you could take your family with you and treat everybody? But in order to do that, you got to avoid a few dumb mistakes that a lot of people make. The 1.2% fee, the not paying off debt, the not investing. You get those 5 to 10 big wins right, you could buy all the lattes and all the
Yes.
beautiful architecture design stuff you want. That's my philosophy, and I will teach you to be rich.
Yeah. And that's the book too, for the people that were asking. Yeah, your book I read years ago, and it was the one that made me rethink house buying. And I even said actually, I said Sunday, I was like, oh, you also said on our podcast about you don't have a limit on spending for wellness. So for everyone listening too, you can think about your money dial. And I think too, as a mindset thing, and you know this very well, it's like understanding that you have a space in your life where you can spend extravagantly or you can expend without restriction helps you feel better about the other areas that you might be pulling back on.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. This feeling of freedom, you can start it in such a small place. Like for me, it started off by realizing I am going to create a money rule for myself where I can buy any book I want ever. I will never think twice about buying a book. It's instantaneous. That's simple. What is that? 10 bucks,
Yes.
a few $100 a year maybe. But imagine expanding it. And the obviously the more successful you become as an investor, maybe you use my earnable program to start a business, whatever. You start to increase your earnings, then you can expand that. Maybe it's any place I want to live, priceless. I don't
Yeah.
care what it costs. Maybe it's anytime I want a vacation, boom. So we start at the level that we are at, but we can expand over time in our rich lives.
Yes. I love. Yeah, I want to talk about earnable because yes. And I'm so thankful that you're in this both spaces that you're in because I feel like you're progressive opinion on starting businesses and side hustles and companies for people is so important, because I feel like it's so much more of a mindset thing than people think. Like, it's, to be an entrepreneur is very much about you having great ideas, but it's more so about like the strategy and consistency of what you do versus like having the great Uber idea. So with Earnable, what exactly do you do to help people through the process?
Okay, I'm gonna reshape everybody's mindset right now. I'm gonna give you an exercise. So typically people think, I need to find the right idea. Notice that word I just said, the right idea. It reminds me of when I was in high school and people said, I need to get a scholarship. No, you need to get 20 scholarships, which is exactly, I applied to 65 scholarships to go to college and grad school, and I applied to a lot of them. Same thing with an idea. You're not looking for one, you're looking for a lot, and then you have a process which we show you in Earnable to narrow them down and find the right example. I'll give you an example. Here's a business idea. Teach people how to dress well. You dress well? Teach people how to dress well. Okay, that is an idea. Do you know how to turn that into a six-figure business right now? Probably not.
Me.
Yeah,
No.
it's hard, right? It's a good idea, but it quickly disabuses people of this concept. I just need an idea. Well, here's a six-figure idea. What are you going to do with it? Nobody knows, because you don't just need an idea. You need a process. So I want to show people right now what you can do right after you watch this to find 5 ideas. This is what you do. Pull out your phone, text your friends. If you don't have friends, we have a larger problem. We can talk about that separately. Find 5 friends in your text messages and send them this. Say, listen, I watched this guy on Instagram and I'm doing this weird exercise. Just play along. What do you come to me for advice on? What do you think I'm kind of good at? It feels weird to send this. Just do it. You're going to get amazing responses. People are going to be like, oh my God, you are so good at giving relationship advice. You are amazing at designing your apartment. Oh my God, I always come, et cetera, et cetera. Suddenly you have 5 to 10 incredible ideas. Already, first of all, you're just going to feel great because people like you. That's awesome. Second, what are you going to do with that? That is what we teach in Earnable. How do you go from, you're good at relationship advice to a 6-figure business? That's exactly what we teach. We've taught thousands and thousands of people how to do it. We've taught artists, we've taught stylists, we've taught people who are amazing at Excel. If you can walk dogs or train dogs, we've taught so many people how to start a business. And that is how you can start to increase your income, especially at a time like this.
Yeah, that's powerful. But so I agree with that. But also, being an entrepreneur is really hard. And I know that people say that and everything like that, but I really think that, like, for me, if I wasn't deeply passionate about the idea that I had for the business and Lindsay and I had for the business, then we wouldn't have lasted and we wouldn't been able to do it. So people can have ideas and people can have ideas based on asking their friends, but like, I don't know how that means they're going to be successful, because you really have to have like that extra X factor to keep you motivated.
What do you think it was for you? Yeah, that's my next bit. Like, what do you think your X factor was? Like, what kept you going when it got hard?
Just building something is really powerful. And then just building something that I felt like was authentically me. This is like, I'm being myself. I'm free to be myself. So freedom is huge for me. So it's like having the freedom to be myself was like really important.
What was a moment where you really felt that you had arrived, where something changed? Maybe you could do something, or you could go somewhere, or you could buy something, or whatever. Was there a moment for you, or a couple of moments where you realized that?
Yeah, I think when I was working at my corporate job for 2 years while we were building the business, and so was Lindsay. And I remember I had to sneak out of work one day because we got paid to speak at an event. And I'll never forget, at the event, for the hour that we spoke, I got paid more than my paycheck for 2 weeks at my job. So I was like, oh, wow, I get paid more in 1 hour doing what I love, that I'm good at, that's easy for me, than like 80 hours of slugging.
Okay. So for everybody listening, that's an amazing thing. What I love about that is there was a moment, this pivotal moment. And now looking back, at how much you got paid then to what you make now, I'm sure that number was very modest. But at the time, it was everything. It was everything.
Yes.
When I grew up, we had a pretty big family. We hardly ever ate out. My mom always cooked. We would eat out, I don't know, once every 4 or 5 weeks with a coupon. And we would never, it was like at a pizza place. We would never, ever get appetizers, ever. So one of the things that is, it's actually on one of my 10 money rules, okay? I have some big rules. Like one of them is fly business class after above a 4 hour flight. That's like pretty expensive. But another one of my money rules is unlimited spending on appetizers. Why? Because it's meaningful to me. Because I'm still 19 years old and I can't afford that appetizer, but I want it. So that $5 thing is so meaningful to me even now when I could get all the appetizers I want. And that, for everybody watching, if you've ever thought about being an entrepreneur, here's the takeaway from both of our examples. A lot of times when we start off, we think it's going to be when we make $1 million or when we're in front of a crowd. Fine, you can do that. But sometimes it's actually the simplest things when you realize you can go out in the middle of the day and make more than you make in 2 weeks, or you can afford a $10 appetizer. Your dreams can be small but meaningful. And so if you're watching this, I saw somebody in the comments, they made a joke. I'm not good at anything, ha ha. Stop that. Stop self-deprecating and joking about yourself that you're not good at anything. You think it's a joke, but it's actually not funny. You're creating an identity, a box for yourself that you yourself cannot escape from. It's a prison of your own mind. So stop that. I saw another comment saying it's freedom. I want to encourage people not to use these vague words. Freedom, what is that? Oh, freedom. That doesn't mean anything. Tell me, I want to go to yoga at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday. Get specific. Now you have something to fight for, because when your business gets hard, and you and I both know it's going to get hard, you need something specific and visceral to fight for. That is, I think, what separates successful entrepreneurs from dreamers.
Yeah, I love, yes. And it's also too, like with the appetizer thing, it's like, that is for you, you know, whenever you go out to eat, like an opportunity to re-trigger an abundance mindset. So it's like, you know, you before, you weren't able to do this. So each time you're like, I can do this. So it's like just re-triggering the mindset of I am abundant. I can order these appetizers. When we were little at my house, we were abundant because we got a trampoline. It was $200 from Sam's Club. And I remember we were like, holy shit, literally, it blew our minds. We're like, we got a trampoline for $200.
I love that. I love that, right? As kids, it's just like, it takes us back to what was meaningful to us then. And even though I'm sure you make much more than you made as an 8-year-old kid, that feeling of wonderment is something that we can still achieve in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. We have to work for it. We have to learn from other people who have done it well. That's why we started Earnable. But it is possible. So I call out some of the comments because I hate seeing people talk themselves out of their dream. It's not a dream. It can be reality. You just have to change the way you think and take some action.
Yeah, you did someone I don't know if it was a DM or if it was like an Instagram comments conversation you had with someone, and you were like, they were talking them out of their dream with you. It was almost like they gave excuses for things, and it was really them talking themselves out of their dreams.
Yeah, it happens all the time. It's happening right now in my current comment section. Somebody, this is just an hour ago, somebody said, you know, I want to start a business, but I never follow through. I start things and I don't finish them. And I just wrote something very point blank to him. I said, maybe you just don't want to. And this triggered a huge comment thread where people, you know, a couple people said, Ramit, that's really rude. You have no empathy, etc. But in reality, I've interacted with millions of people over 16 years. There are real systemic reasons that people don't do things. There are political reasons, there are economic reasons, there are medical reasons. But in reality, for everyone watching, if you have told yourself for years, I want to get a different job, I want to start a business, I want to travel, I want to do X, Y, Z, and you haven't, one of the biggest predictors of that is simply maybe you just don't want to. And that's a really hard thing to accept. By the way, the guy I wrote the comment to was like, you're right. I actually don't. I don't put any energy into it.
And now he's free.
Now he's free. At least admit to it. When I was in my 20s Everyone's like, travel, travel, Ramit, it's so cool. I was like, I don't want to. Today, everyone's like, Ramit, you got to meditate every day and do morning pages. No, I don't. I like to wake up and scroll Instagram and watch TV in the morning. That's what I do. We can each have our own rich life.
You're like, I
But
stay triggered, okay?
I first look at the comments, I'm like, oh my God. But I think, you know, what I love is that
Yeah, you're like, all right.
you're intentional about your life. I'm intentional about mine. And that's what I want everybody watching to do as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And just an example of what you're talking about too. I remember for so long, I was like, I want to run a marathon. I want to run a marathon. And then I like sat down and I'm like, do I want to run a marathon, or does everyone do that as like a goal? And I just applied that to my life as a goal. And I think even with like entrepreneurship, it's something too where I think everyone feels like they have to have a side hustle. They have to have a passion that makes them money. They have to have all these additional things that like keep us as workaholics, keep us in this system.
Mm-hmm.
And I just challenge, like, for people that want that, it's like, why? You know, it's just, don't feel like you have to because it's popular.
Yeah. Well, let's do a little challenge right now to the people in the comments.
Yes.
Let's try to free everybody. It'll happen in less than 30 seconds. Everybody watching, what is one thing that you have claimed you really want to do, like run a marathon, but when you think about it right now, you actually don't want to do it at all? Yeah. Free yourself in the comments. Let's see what people say. That's today's theme. Free yourself. Let's see what they say.
Mine's the marathon. And okay, everyone needs to comment theirs. What would yours be? You probably don't have any.
Meditation. Well, I didn't even want to do that. Okay. Here's another one, like learning another language. Maybe later, but not right now. I'm good. Okay, look at these comments. Write a book. Exercise daily. I hope someone doesn't say join Ramit's Earnable program, because you really should do that. Let's hope that they don't say
that. Go vegan. That's a good one. Go backpacking. Own a house. Own a house is a powerful one. That's a powerful one, because that one's deeply programmed.
Look at this. Be a boss. Have several side hustles. You know, I remember something when I graduated. I had a friend of mine who went to work at a tech company, and a lot of my friends ended up being entrepreneurs. And after 3 or 4 years, she said to me, Ramit, you know what? I used to think that I wanted to start my own business, but seeing what my two founders have to do every day, I don't ever want to have to start a business. And I respect her. Good for you. Totally. You know what you want. That's amazing. Now, on the other hand, if you are working and you're like, like me, I did not want to have to tell my boss or ask for permission to go on a vacation. It just wasn't my thing. It bothered me. If you hate going into an office, et cetera, then you know maybe that's not the right path for you. But I knew it deep down. I knew it here. So, okay, look at all these answers. They're amazing. This is incredible. So, okay, everyone, you are now free of your former burdens as of 5 minutes ago. So what should they do with this knowledge now? Now that they are free, they have a burden lifted on. What should they do?
Go streaking. Just go streaking. Feel exhilarated. You guys have let go of something. Okay, now that they've let go of that, I guess my fear would be like, whenever we let go of something, we sometimes fill it with another thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like almost like enjoying the feeling of having the space from letting that go. But what would you think?
I think that's really powerful. I think you're right. I think that we are groomed from a young age, especially high achievers, that you need to be busy all the time. And if you are not busy, you're a failure. And this is reinforced in so many ways. Just think about how we introduce ourselves. How's it going? Oh, it's good, really busy. Yeah. Don't ever say that again. You're not busy. Yeah. You choose to work on certain things. Now, of course, life gets busy a few times a year, but if you're constantly introducing yourself as busy, is that really the identity you want to create for yourself? No. So to your point, let's take a walk today. Let's go outside or stay inside, I don't care, and really just marinate in the freedom of, you know what? I've been telling people I want to run a marathon for 5 years. And today I have accepted that's not part of my identity anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm closing the door on that. And I'm going to I'm not opening the door on anything else. I'm not signing up for this. Well, maybe Earnable, fine. That opens tomorrow on my Instagram page. But aside from that, I'm not going to jump into some new thing to distract myself from what's in here. I'm going to slow down, and maybe after a week, I'll think about what's next. But for now, I'm just going to marinate in it. I think that would be really powerful.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's almost too like taking everything with that thought process of like, is this my goal or someone else's? Is this my dream or someone else's? And I did that. I started doing that a few years ago because I realized I was doing that. Like I would make my manifest list or what I was looking to create that year. And I was like, how many of these are based on what I see on Instagram? I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I want to work on the beach. I'm like, do I care to work on the, like,
Yeah.
you know, it
How
was
did
just
you
like
figure that
my
out, though? That's
it was
really
like,
hard.
because I just was like, because you really think about it. It's like you got to think about, okay, so if as the marathon goal, I want to run a marathon. I'm like, do I want to run 15 miles a day or 15 miles a week? No. Do I, you know what I mean? I'm like, you just have to kind of break it down and be realistic. It's like for writing a book, do you want to sit and write for months on end? Do you want to have an editor? Do you want to go? And when you've done, you've owned your own business like you have, and I have, it's like you actually know the processes that like it takes to create something, and you're like, oh man, I don't know if that's
Yeah.
worth it.
I'm so glad you said that. I'll share my experiences on the same topic. So I think that many of us want an outcome, but we don't want to think through the steps and certainly do the steps to get there. For example,
Yeah.
a lot of people want to look a certain way, whether that be changing their body style, whatever.
Yes.
Okay, fine. You want that certain look, but that means you have to change eating, moving, dressing. It's a lot, and it's virtually an everyday or certainly every week process. Be honest. The next thing, starting a business or writing a book is a great one. So I've written multiple books. The dream is great. Oh, I'm in front of all these people just opining
Yes.
on, everybody's listening to me. The work sucks. It is horrible to write a book. But I had this thing inside where I'm like, I gotta get this out of me and into the world. So I went through the pain. I think with mentors, a lot of us claim we want a mentor, but what we really want is to be able to
Yeah.
pick up the phone and call Tim Ferriss or Michelle Obama and just be like, hey, what do you think about this? No, finding a mentor is
Yeah,
a lot of
honestly.
work. So let's be honest. And I think as experienced entrepreneurs, both of us now realize, as you said, what it takes to do something. And therefore, we now say no to most things because we know that if we really want to achieve something, it's going to take a lot of work. So by default, I say no to most things, but then when I say yes, I'm all in.
Yeah, 100. I love that. Do you want to do like two questions from Q&A? People
Of
are like
course,
submitting questions. How do you feel about that?
I love it.
Okay, let's go, guys. All right. Mm, okay, I like this one. Oh, this is from Brian, who's a DM buddy of mine. I'd love to hear what Ramit says about investing in penny stocks.
Don't do it. Unless you want to just light your money on fire, it'd be faster to do that.
Perfect. We agree. Okay, here we go. Oh, this one. I think we talked a little bit about this one, but what are your biggest money values?
Oh, wow. This is a great question. I have 10 money rules, and these reflect my values. One of them, for example, is make enough to work with people that I like and respect. And I think that
Love.
really speaks to, I don't ever want to work with somebody who makes me feel bad, right? Ever.
Mm,
Another one is unlimited spending on books, fitness, and if one of my friends is doing a fundraiser, unlimited. Done.
love that.
Okay, so those
Powerful.
are examples of values, but I also have some others that are very me focused. Business class on flights over 4 hours. And I'm saying this out loud. People don't often say this because usually when they talk about their money values, it's purely charitable. Guess what? Money is earned so that we can spend it on the things we love and value. And I love flying and flying well or traveling well. And also, I have to say that another one of my values, which gets the most confusion, is marry the right person. And this is, for most people, it's the most important financial decision you ever make, which it's obviously not just a financial decision, but the person you marry affects everything you're going to do with where you go, how you live, what do you do day to day, and where do you travel, and how do you raise children if that's what you choose to do. I think that sometimes in America, we have a really romantic notion of love, which is great, but love is also a partnership. And it's a partnership that is going to last the rest of your life. So I talk about this. I did another podcast on Tim Ferriss's show. We talk about love and money and prenups and all kinds of stuff. And those are some of my money values. You can find them by searching Ramit's Money Rules.
Love that. Yeah, we talked about the prenup too on ours.
Yeah.
But you know, if you guys want to listen to Tim's, whatever. Ours,
No,
Tim's,
no, no,
it's
no,
kind
no,
of
no,
like
no.
all the
Tim's
same.
second, yours, ours
Tim's, yes.
first.
Who is Tim, to be honest? Oh, this is a good one. Okay, we'll do two more. Ramit, what is the best predictor of someone who will be successful?
I can predict if someone will not be successful. That's pretty easy. It's a little harder to predict if they will be successful. I'll tell you what I know. First of all, how do I know this? So over the years, I've gotten millions and millions of emails from people, and I respond to a lot of them. If any of you have DM'd me, well, if it was a good DM, odds are I may have replied. I don't reply to everyone, but I read them all. And if somebody comes in and the first question is something like, how much does this cost? They will never join. And therefore, they will never get any of the benefits ever. Why? Because they are looking at price as the motivator. When you want to do something, price is a mere triviality, okay? That's really hard for people to wrap their head around if they've only considered price as their only money lens. But there's so many other lenses in life: security, safety, results, and on and on. So that's going to be a fail. Or how do I know this will work for me? What they are really saying is, give me a magical program that guarantees me results. Now, I give you a guarantee, but I can't do the work for you. Would you go to your Spanish instructor and say, guarantee me I'm going to be fluent after taking Spanish 101? No, you do the work. You're the student. The teacher will present the material, but you do the work. So stop looking for a miracle. You need to be your own miracle. Those are two predictors of failure. Success would be, I've checked out this and this program. I really like yours. Can you just tell me, does it include this? That's a very reasoned response. They're looking for something specific. Or another example is what I said to my personal trainer when I finally got the courage up to hire a trainer. It took me 4 months to walk across the street and go in the gym because I was afraid that if I actually paid, I would then have to commit. So the person said to me, he looked at me, I was very skinny, and he said, what's your goal? And I said, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. I don't even know where I came up with that. I didn't even know what 10 pounds of muscle was back then.
Totally.
So he looks at me and he goes, okay, you're going to have to stop running and you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. I go, I don't care how long it takes. I'll do whatever you tell me. That is a student who's going to be successful. They have put themselves in the hand of an instructor that they trust, and they will do anything that instructor says. That's going to predict success.
Love it. Ramit just giving us an example of success from his own life. I'm obsessed with that. If you guys want a perfect example, I can tell you that. I can tell you.
That was accidentally true.
That's the best. That's why we love you. Okay, last one. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, and this probably applies to Earnable too for people that want to do it or that are going to do it starting tomorrow. Can you see this?
Yeah, this is a great one. I'm curious about your advice, and then I'll tell you my advice. What do you think?
Okay, I have a lot of experience with this. So Lindsay and I both own almost 30, 50, and it's the best. It's truly such a joy, and I wouldn't have it any other way. She balances me out in such a powerful way. But I will say that I think a lot of people look for a business partner as a crutch and as a way to procrastinate against something that they want to do. So I really do think that for most people, it's not the best way to go. And Lindsay and I are tied more than my fiance and I are. We have our dreams, our goals, our money, anything related to such a big part of our lives that are combined. So you have to trust that person with everything. You have to have the same mission. You have to have the same values. And it is very, very rare that you have a partnership that can really last or like stand the test of time. So I think the point is that it's actually a huge decision to make. And I don't think that people really understand how important it is to be smart about it. And just the last thing, again, I really think people do it as a procrastination technique so that they're like, oh yeah, he's not getting back to me, or they're being slow, like, and not just doing the thing.
Wow. You know, what I really love about that is you have the experience of a partner. And in this business that I've been running for the last 16 years, I've been doing it. I'm the sole founder. And I have to say, I really agree with what you said. I completely agree. In fact, I hope everyone watching and listening understands the sophistication of the advice you just got, because you just heard a co-founder tell you all the considerations to make when it comes to starting a business. That's really sophisticated advice. That's a coach would charge like thousands and thousands of dollars just for that one answer. So that was amazing. I think you're right. People do use it as a crutch. I think that as an entrepreneur, you have to do something that you've usually never done in life, which is to own it. You have to own the outcome. Oh, they're not getting back to me? I don't care. I'm going to make it happen anyway. Oh, that person didn't respond? They're fired. I'll find somebody else. I have money. I'll find somebody else. My money's good money, and on and on and on. Now, if you have a perfect partnership, and also you're lucky, because it will never be perfect. Things will evolve and change just as any relationship does. So you have to be lucky. You have to have good values. Then it can work. But in my experience, most of my students started solo. And I'll say one other thing. The more successful you become, the better partners you can attract. So as you get more successful, just as in life, same as in business, you can attract better partners. So you may want a founder down the road. That's always an opportunity. But once you sign that dotted line, that is your partner. So be very cautious, and usually you can do it on your own.
Yes, I love that. Oh, people are talking about how they bought the book and it's changed their life already. I'm sure you hear that all the time.
Awesome. I love it. It never gets
that
old.
makes me so happy. Okay, let's talk about you're like more and more. Let's talk about Earnable. I want to promote the heck out of it, and I'm really excited.
Well, thank you. So we have helped tens of thousands of people start businesses. And I love this because 15 years ago, you could not start a business like this. You would have to have massive cash amounts. You'd have to have servers, all kinds of stuff. Now we have people who can draw, and they can do a 6-figure business. We have people who are good with pets. They can create one. My mom, this is an amazing story. My mom taught my wife how to cook Indian food. And my wife started sending me these pictures of Indian food. Indian food's beautiful. It looks so good when you're cooking it. And I was just posting it, and guess what? My mom ended up teaching a cooking class online and made $2,000. My mom's a retired teacher. Yes, she's been retired for years. So just imagine the joy of having a new chapter of your life. And if my mom can do it, then you can do it. So my greatest joy is for people to realize, wow, I'm destined for more. I can have an impact, and I can stop limiting myself in creating my rich life. So we created Earnable. It's an online program, and we show you start everything: how to find an idea, how to narrow it down, how much to charge, exact marketing scripts. We even did one recently on how to generate customers from Instagram, and I showed people some of the techniques and actual scripts we use in Instagram, the actual campaigns to generate six plus figures. It's awesome. And the biggest challenge for people is to make a bet on themselves. Just as I had a struggle to walk into that gym and pay, because I knew if I did, this got real. That's the same thing for Earnable. And so what I've learned is we're not looking for everyone. We're just looking for the right people. You will know if you're ready. And we have a wait list at iwt.com/earn. It could change your life.
Love that, iwt.com/earn. And then he said it would apply to artists. You guys had some artists and
yes, we do have an
there
artist
as well.
Yep.
That's amazing. Well, this has been the highlight of my week. I love talking to you. You're one of my faves. And we're so excited to, help you guys promote Earnable. I think all of our community will love it, and we're always here for you. So thank you so much, everyone. This will be saved on our stories and on our page. You can watch it at any time. You can send it to your friends. And Ramit, I'll see you later.
Thanks. This was so fun. I appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
If you want another amazing video highlighting excellence in the Indian community, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.